Okay, so I'm going to go over the vocabulary for IELTS Speaking Part 2, and the topic is news and media. So I'm going to use IELTS Advantage. I'm going to use their speaking strategy for Part 2 because I think it's quite good. So it starts with an introduction, and then we talk about the past, then we give a description, then we have our opinion, and then finally the future. So just looking at the verbs, we have to premiere. To premiere is when something is shown to people for the first time. So the movie premiered last week. So it came out, it was brand new, people were watching it for the first time. To air is basically when something is put on TV. So the movie was aired on Channel 3. But nowadays, we would probably talk about something airing on YouTube. So his video was aired on YouTube. Basically, his video was shown on YouTube. Or his video premiered on YouTube yesterday. So that means it came out yesterday on YouTube. To broadcast. To broadcast some type of news report basically just means to show people this news report, to put it out there. Basically very similar to air. So I broadcasted my report on the radio. It basically means you presented your report. I broadcasted my findings. I broadcasted the evidence on the Channel 3 news station. Okay, so then we have nouns. We have contestant, producers, segment, and suggestion. Contestant would be someone on a game show. So there are 3 contestants on the game show. Those are just people who go on the game show and try to win the prize. Producers, that's someone who makes the show or the movie or any type of media. It could be a music producer as well. Segment is like a kind of like a short video. So if I'm watching a news segment, basically means that I'm watching like a short news video, maybe it's 2 minutes long, and it's giving me an overview about some issue. It's giving me an overview, it's giving me some information. It's a short news segment. Suggestion. I think we all know suggestion. A suggestion is just when you are trying to give someone advice. You're trying to tell them about something that you think is good. So his suggestion was that we should make more videos. That was his suggestion. That was his advice. He was trying to help us, telling us what he thinks would be a good idea. Adjectives. Witty. Witty is someone who is funny, but they're not just funny, they're also clever, they're smart. They are able to say something which is really appropriate for the moment. So someone who can see some situation and right away they can say something and it perfectly captures the situation, and it's probably a bit funny as well. So it's funny and clever. They are very witty. So Shakespeare has the quote, "Brevity is the soul of wit." So brevity is being very light and kind of quick. So if you can be light and quick and clever, that is the soul of wit. That is what wit basically is. Informative. Informative is something that just has a lot of information. So the news report was very informative. It gave me a lot of facts, a lot of numbers, evidence, a lot of interesting ideas. Phrases and collocations is next. Provided for. The article was provided for a certain event. So, or the video was provided for a certain event. I made a video about some charity, and so the video was provided for the charity so that they could raise money. Search engine, Google. You can use a search engine to find anything. To crack a joke. To crack a joke we don't really say that much anymore. To crack a joke is to make a joke, to just say a joke. To come up with is basically when you make an idea, when you think of an idea. So I came up with the idea to sell uh, shoes online. So that's when you make an idea. Linking words, in fact and in general. I don't think I need to go over those. Okay, so now we're going to do speaking part 2, an example, and I am going to use the strategy. So it's going to be introduction, past, description, opinion, and future. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to find a news question. Okay. Talk about a program on TV or radio you often listen to. You should say what program it is, what the program is about, why you watch or listen to it, and say what you think could be improved about its output. So one thing that I've been learning from IELTS Advantage is that you don't need to hit all of those bullet points. It's not super important. You just need to make sure that you're speaking coherently, fluently, and with good structure, and also really talking about your opinions and expanding on your opinions, not being too vague, and not just doing a description for the whole time, not just saying a bunch of descriptive words. Okay, so going back to the question, I'm going to talk about the introduction. So talk about a program on TV or radio you often listen to. Okay, so I would like to tell you about a program that I often listen to. This program is actually, it is pretty much a podcast because it's just one person talking to another person. However, there is also a video version of this for people who want to see the conversation happening. So I listen to this podcast on YouTube. I don't really look at the video. I just put it on my phone and I throw my phone on my bed and go do something else, and I just listen to what they are saying. So this podcast is on YouTube. This is a podcast created by Lex Friedman. He is a great scientist and kind of AI developer. He worked at MIT, and he has a lot of interesting ideas about science and things that are happening in the world today. So I'm going to go into the past now. I used to listen to this podcast or video pretty much every day. I used to listen to it pretty much every day because I had so much free time. During the COVID pandemic, I didn't have to go to work. So I was at home and I was just listening to this podcast every day. I would listen to multiple episodes from this creator every day, and I really loved it. And now I'll go into the description. This podcast was so good because the podcast always included many amazing guests, and I still listen to this podcast today. So today I still listen to it, but I don't listen to it as frequently. I listen to it less because I don't have as much free time now. And the great thing about this podcast is the creator talks to a lot of interesting people who have great ideas. These people are very informative. Some of them are very witty. Some of them like to crack jokes during the podcast. You know, they will say something serious and then they will crack a joke. But they also come up with really brilliant ideas on the spot during the conversation. And they come up with ideas about how we can make humanity better and how we can make the world better. Originally, this podcast premiered on YouTube, but I think now it actually is broadcasted on other websites like Spotify, or it might even be in the iTunes store. So now I'm going to go on to the opinion. I really love this podcast. I think it's really great. As I said before, it's very informative. And it's also very informal because the guests do not have to pretend to be someone who is very serious and has a lot of power and influence. They are just being themselves and they are just talking normally, and it's great to just listen to a natural conversation. I really recommend this program for anyone who wants to learn about science or politics or history and who wants to feel more optimistic about the future because there's so many great speakers on the show. So in the future, I would actually like to listen to this podcast with my friends. The reason I would like to listen to this podcast with my friends is because I think there are a lot of interesting ideas on this podcast, and I would love to discuss these ideas with my friends. In fact, I was recently listening to the show, and there was an idea about universal basic income. And it was so good. The podcast had a great segment on universal basic income, and I really wanted to discuss it with my peers. So in the future, when we can get together with our friends, when we're allowed to do that, I hope I can listen to this show with my friends and discuss these ideas.